Saturday, I was following the news of the shooting in Norway and the explosion in Norway, which happened, on Friday?
Yeah, the explosion was, and then we left the air, and
right,
and then he went to, the camp.
Yeah, well, when we heard the explosion, everybody was willing to say, it's Muslim extremists! It's Muslim extremists! I don't think we made a comment on it because we didn't know, other than there was a bombing that happened. And as the thing started to unfold, and then there was a shooting at a political camp, which sounds a little like, the Hitler Youth or whatever. I mean, who does a camp for kids that's all about politics? Disturbing. But anyway, so there's this political camp, and some crazy man goes and starts shooting kids. I get up Saturday morning, and I write to Scott Baker at The Blaze, and I said, I haven't seen this yet anywhere, and I can tell you exactly what's going on. Somebody just needs to follow the story. And what is going on is exactly what I said would happen. I warned that this would happen last fall. Can we find and see if we can find the audio of me saying it? It's actually a kind of a famous monologue because I made it's a very complex theory, and you make one error in it, and it sounds like you are blaming it or agreeing with or whatever. And it's the monologue where I spoke about Geert Wilders. I think I only spoke about Geert Wilders on Fox one time. I think I had Geert Wilders on the CNN headline news show, right?
Yeah, I feel like a couple times you had him on that show, yeah.
Geert Wilders, and I think I've had him on this program before. Geert Wilders is the politician out of
Denmark,
I think. And he's a guy who is very outspoken on Islam, and he's warning Europe, we're in trouble. We are in deep, deep trouble. And they've tried to make him into a terrorist and a hate monger and everything else. But when he came out with this film of his, I remember it was like 20 minutes. It was less strong than what we showed on CNN headline news. It's just clips of all of the things that they're saying. I think he went as far to say that Islam is evil, which I don't believe that Islam is evil. I believe Islam, the way it is being practiced by Ahmadinejad and millions of people around the world that believe in the same things that Ahmadinejad believes in, that's evil. Absolutely 100% that's evil. But there are a lot of good Muslims as well. They need to be strengthened. And the way to strengthen them is to say, this kind of understanding of Islam is evil. Period. And strengthen the ones who say, that's not what we want to do. We don't want to kill our daughters in honor killings. We don't want to stone people to death. We don't want our husbands to have, hourly marriage? We like to call it prostitution here in the United States. That Sharia law, it does not have a place in today's world. Period. I warned that what was coming in Europe, and I will detail this in great detail on week number 1 of GBTV. I'm going to show you what the world's going to look like. But last fall, I said Europe is going to go into financial trouble, and it's also going to go into problems with radical Islam because the cities are being overrun. And the cities are also, many of them, are being, for instance, in France, they are being the Islamic towns, or whatever you call them, sections, are getting in to the middle management of all of France, and this is happening all over Europe. And what's happening is they're like on the city councils and the Board of Education and everything else. They're the ones that are pushing all the papers and making all the rules. It's kind of a Cass Sunstein thing. And they are squeezing the neck of Europe. And that's what Geert Wilders has been saying, that political correctness and multiculturalism is killing Europe. And he's right. And if you look at multiculturalism and you're still for it, well, you better look whose company you're in, because Angela Merkel, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, I think Spain, France, all of them have come out and said, boy, this was a mistake. Multiculturalism does not work, and it's killing us. So in this monologue, I warned that what was coming to Europe is you would see the right wing, and this is one of the episodes where I showed the railroad tracks that are different than America. In America, the left railroad track is gigantic government. It can be communist or fascist. It doesn't matter, but it's giant government. The other side of the track is anarchy or, very, very, very small government. So that's the left and right here in America. The left and right in Europe, because once they got rid of the kings, they didn't replace it with we the people. They had to replace it with another strong government. And that's where fascism and communism came from. That's your left and right. Fascism on the right, Nazis, and communist on the left. And there are variations of both of those theories, but it's fascism and communism, left and right. This guy who's the shooter is from the right wing. Different than our right wing. It is still big government. He is coming out and he is doing the work of a madman. He's doing the work of what all people that want big government always do, and that is commit terrorist acts. They want to destroy a government so they can put another one in that they like. However, I want to make this very, very clear. This is the act of a madman. This is the act of somebody who needs to be in prison for the rest of their life. This is not anything that anyone should ever engage in. There is no difference between him and the 9/11 bombers. Nothing. No difference. He is just as bad as Osama bin Laden. Period. With that being said, let me explain what is happening in Europe. What's happening in Europe is Geert Wilders has been telling the truth. There's trouble. There is trouble with Islam. There is trouble. We are being set up, and our way of life, the Western way of life, is over. If we don't pay attention, the left, remember this is the communist socialist left, has gotten into bed through political correctness and the ideas of social justice with Islam. Islam has been feeding some of the worst elements from Pakistan, et cetera, into these communities, into Europe. Now remember, it is in the Netherlands that, what's his name, was Van Gogh was stabbed in the chest and said, West and America, you're over. We will do this to you. The left has gotten into bed with Islamic radicals through the social justice network. Let's provide social justice. Let's be good to everyone. And they have given the Islamic extremists an awful lot of power. And now you are seeing the pushback. The regular person is in the middle. They're not fascists and they're not communists. They're just in the middle. They just like everybody else, whether you're Jewish, Palestinian, American, it doesn't matter. Most people just want to be left alone and raise their family and do their job. That's what they want. Let me just do a job, go to the grocery store, play with my kids, have a decent education and a decent future. Leave me alone. So they're not communist and they're not fascists. They're just normal. When things are out of control, people, the general population, sits down and they're just like, okay, can somebody fix this, please? You politicians fix this. And they see what's happening. It's the same thing that's happening in this country. You know what's going on. You know there's problems with the borders. You know there's problems with extremist Islam. And I don't mean just in the Middle East. I mean here. You know that extremist Islam has infiltrated charities and are masquerading as charities, and they are causing real problems and real damage in our country. You know it and I know it. The problem is, when something bad happens, will we rise up and say to the government, you knew about it. You were part of this problem. You helped bring it on. We will in time if we don't stop it. Europe is approaching that time. The average person doesn't listen to a Nazi. They don't listen to a hardcore communist. Only when the system is ready to collapse will they listen, and then they will run into the arms of madmen. This is why Cloward and Piven, their strategy is to collapse the system, put everybody dependent on the government, and then collapse it. Because they know people just want normalcy. They want stability. That's what they need. That's what they want. So if you can cause a disruption in stability, they'll run to the arms of a madman. The people of Europe see what's coming to their country. They know their way of life, the Western way of life, is over unless people stop playing games. Madmen are now starting to rise up and saying, yeah, and they're killing us, and they're traitors, and so they've got to be stopped right now. And that's who this guy is. He's Timothy McVeigh. He's Osama bin Laden. He's all of them. He's all of them. The danger comes from the average person now having to pick sides. Because as I've said to you before, we're passing all of the exits. You've got to get off an exit. You've got to turn the car around. We're losing exits. Well, what is that cliff at the end? When I say that we're running out of freeway, and there's no more freeway. It doesn't mean we go on a dirt road, gang. It means we drive off the cliff. What is that cliff? That cliff is at the end. You either destroy everything and then it's chaos, or somebody who's been sitting in the car who is totally extreme, wants to take you someplace else and been saying, we're not going there, we're going someplace else. And everybody in the car has been saying, no, shut up, I don't want to go there. Shut up. But as we start to approach that cliff, that's the guy that will shoot the driver in the head and say, damn you all, I told you, and he'll take the wheel and he'll take you to hell. That's what's happening. And the people in the car will be faced with the choice, cliff or hell. And they know, because they'll see it, I can't go over the cliff, that's really bad. But they'll hope that something better is coming. They hope that, well, we'll go this direction and something will stop it. Something else will be better. It's what's happened in Germany. It's what's happened time and time again in every country that goes bad. Every time.